So there's one more thing that we have to talk about, and that's light pollution. Light pollution is kind of destroying the night sky, and basically what it is just excess light that's going into the sky and being reflected back down to us by the stuff in the atmosphere. It's like it's getting worse and worse, and so what we need to do is just kind of find a way to fix it. And it really just comes from poor lighting being one of them. So a light that is shining, not just where you need it. So a full cutoff light is basically a light that shines down into a small area. Then you have bad lighting, which is light that either is too bright, so it's reflecting off of the ground too much and back into the sky, or it's being shown into the sky where it's not needed. And it's not like we need to light the bottom of planes to be able to see them from the ground by all of the light. No, we just need to decrease the amount of light that we're using. It does affect you in a few different ways. One of them is, if everybody had dark skies, then you wouldn't have to travel anywhere. That's kind of bad for, you know, traveling. But not everybody can afford to travel all of the time to do astrophotography and to do astronomy. So it affects astrophotography because you're getting so much of that foreground light from the light pollution that it's kind of overwhelming the light coming from the stars and from the galaxies and stuff that you want to actually take pictures of. To give you an idea of what that looks like, you can see that right here. And so you see one star, maybe two, and the rest of this is being overwhelmed by the light pollution coming from everywhere. In an ideal situation, our observatory here should be completely dark, but you can take a very simple picture, not even that long of an exposure, and see everybody standing out here. You see other buildings, you can see all of the lights coming from this area is over here, and all of the light in the up in the sky there. So it's just so much light that's not going where it's supposed to, and just so much money being wasted by doing it. Other ways it affects you is that it can actually change the color of, or actually even subdue the color of the images that you're seeing. And so a lot of people, what they've been doing is getting very special filters that look at individual wavelengths of light coming from astronomical objects and just using those, and that's mostly coming from nebulae and stuff. And so that's one of the reasons why you see so many nebula pictures out there, is because it's becoming easier to do those. But you can't really use a filter on a galaxy, because galaxy is all of that light, and you need all of that light. But light pollution is blocking that equally, so it's a lot harder to take pictures of galaxies from a light polluted area than it is to do from or of a nebula. Um, so that's we don't need all of this light pollution. We don't. There's a lot of reasons why we can change it and stuff and make it more effective and still have it as safe as we want it to be. But we really don't need all of this shining up out here. That's completely wasted. There's not like evil people flying around or evil monkeys flying around that we need to look out for. So it's kind of a waste. To give you an idea, this is our other observatory. Our observatory is not being lit up right here. It's like dark there. You still can see some lights off in the distance from towns that are about 40 miles away. These ones over here 10, these are 40. There's light pollution here from another city that's about 60 miles away, and if we were to take another picture off to the other side over here, we can see lights from Las Vegas that are 180 miles away still. But if you get past all of this and look up, you're actually seeing stars. You're seeing meteors. This is a pretty cool meteor that came down while I was shooting this. But you can see many, many more stars. Now compare that to this. No stars, almost. You see Venus, the brightest thing in the sky. Bunch of stars. You can see all of the stars in Orion and tons of others. You can see the strip of the Milky Way there. So it's affecting our astrophotography and basically blinding us to the night sky. And there's really easy ways to stop it. One of them is turning off lights. That's the most easy way. It actually saves you a little bit of money. Get dimmer lighting. That also saves you money. get shields for your lighting. That way you can light an area effectively without shining it into people's eyes and back into the sky. And there's also another color lighting. So if you get really dim lighting that's more red, then it's still easy to see, and it's not affecting astrophotography and astronomers and stuff quite as much. And there's also a whole aspect of human health and ecological impacts that are being noticed now too. So since we can't do anything immediately, and this is going to take a while, there's a few things that you can to just kind of try to get away from it. And one of them is by looking up this thing online. It's called the lightpollutionmap.info. You can find where you are. We're over here in the United States, so I'm going to show you that to you now. Get rid of that ad. Go away. So if we look all over this area here, we can see the eastern part of the United States is covered in red and yellow, and the more color that you see in these areas, the more light pollution there is. And if you go over here to Utah, Salt Lake City area is getting worse and worse, but we still have a few places like right here. This is the Colorado Plateau. We have the Great Basin over here, and then some area up here in northern Nevada and southern Oregon, even up here in Montana. Those are places where it's still really, really dark. But we have an observatory about right here, and we're seeing light from 160 miles away in Salt Lake and 160 miles away in Las Vegas. We also have another observatory right here in the middle of all of this, and so those are the images that I showed you. To get away from this, you can basically drive wherever you want, and so the farther you drive out of these colored areas, the darker it's going to be. And so if you drive over here towards Nevada, over here this way, over here this way, if you're in Utah, those are all amazing places. Canyonlands, we actually have one of the highest densities of International Dark Sky Association dark sky parks in the world, and we're currently getting more and trying to get more. But you may not be in an area over here. You might be stuck over here in Los Angeles area where it's like just blazingly bright, but you still can get away from some places like that. But it shouldn't have to be an issue, because if we change lighting, we can actually minimize this really effectively. Like Tucson's getting brighter, but they have a lot of ways to mitigate this because there are observatories there. But we can do this all over, and that way you're not having to spend that extra money traveling just for a single night of stuff. It'd be much better where you could just do some stuff from your backyard where it's kind of dark, where it's not blazingly bright like Las Vegas and stuff, and then take a trip to one of these darker locations for a few days and get some really, really good stuff. And you can save your money up to buy better stuff and to get those longer vacations and things. Even if you're over here in the east, there are still some places you can go. I've been to South Carolina, and the Milky Way is barely visible there. So in South Carolina, in some of their less populated areas, it can still be fairly dark there. So it's better. But if you got some of these areas right here and around in Virginia, any of these darker locations, that'll get you in places that are better for viewing the sky and taking astrophotography than the bright areas like this. So there's that. There's a thing called Globe at Night that you can help with. You can submit your you can actually submit some observations, and you can help them kind of map out this stuff and see how it's changing. Or you can go to the IDA. So if we go to International Dark Sky Association, If we go to the IDA website, you can actually get a bunch of tools to figure out what you can do on your local communities, and just even as an individual. They have a lot of programs, they have a lot of tools that you can use to give to your neighbors or people in your communities just to help with this problem. They explain it really well, so you can go check those out there too. There's also state parks and national parks that are following the guidelines set up by the International Dark Sky Association to not only reduce the amount of lighting that they have in their parks, but to help other people around in their communities understand that it's being a problem, and they're giving them ways to fix them. And so there's a lot of effort going on right now, and a lot of new research coming out to get rid of light pollution and to help these problems. But we need as many people as possible. That way, if you go out, you can actually enjoy the night sky as much as you can. Okay, so that is this video. Hopefully it was enlightening for you. And so hopefully you learned something. If you have questions, feel free to post stuff in the comments, and we'll try to answer them as soon as we can. And any questions for future videos, please post them, and I'll try to include them into the future videos when we're doing stuff. So this is the end of part 1 of astrophotography stuff. So I hope you stay tuned and keep coming back for more. Thanks, guys and girls and everybody.